I guess it's time to address the elephant in the room. Before we get to today's video, I want to take a moment to talk about Patreon. That's right, we are on Patreon now, and we have a bunch of tiers with a bunch of great rewards. You can subscribe and get things like early access to all reactions, depending on your tier, depends on which reactions you get early access to. You can vote on polls exclusive to patrons that will help determine future reaction series and more. You will get to just have various choices in terms of like getting to choose future reactions I react to, getting to choose first impressions I check out, all kinds of different rewards, and possibly more coming in the future. We're still new at this. We're still figuring things out. It's a process. It's a process. But we have multiple tiers, so whatever you would be able to donate, if you're able and willing to donate, is appreciated. It helps me out, it helps the channel out, it helps us grow. It's going to help just, standardly. It's just something new to check out. Plus, if you like getting the reactions early, that's also a plus. But it is optional. If you're unable to do it, that's completely fine. All reactions will come to YouTube just a little bit later, a week later or so. So that all being said, thank you as always so much, and let's get on with today's video. And with that being said, hey everyone, welcome to Princess of Gay. I'm your host Connie, and today we are here with my blind reaction to Adult Swim's The Elephant. So I need to address this right off the bat. You may be wondering if you haven't seen any videos or update notifications or like posts I made on YouTube or whatever. If you're watching on Patreon, well, you're not watching this, but anyone watching on Patreon might not have seen the post I made about that, possibly. But just to explain, when I announced this as what was taking over for Fiona and Cake for the time being, taking over that slot, I thought The Elephant was a 3-episode miniseries. Because when I saw the trailer and everything, that's what I interpreted from what they said in it. They referred to it as a 3-part or 3-act special, and to me that comes across as 3 episodes, and each episode would be like made by a different creator or set of creators that this was mentioned as having, the likes of Pendleton Ward and Rebecca Sugar and Ian James Cordy, and the creator of Over the Garden Wall, I can't remember the name of right now. But like one or more, a combination of them would be like doing this each episode. And that part is true, except it's not episodes. It's one singular special. And it's divided into 3, I assume, equal timed acts, which for a 22-minute special, which by the way is ridiculously short, that would be what, like 7 minutes each? I don't even think like completely 7 minutes. Like maybe a few seconds over 7 minutes, but approximately. And it's just like it's a crazy decision. I feel like it would have made more sense as like a 3-episode special, or at the very least be double length. Having it be a 22-minute like normal episode length special, that's woefully short. Like, I don't even know the content of this really. I don't know like what this is going to be about, or what it's going to focus on, or what kind of like themes and messages we're going to get. But while it may even still be good, and I have faith that it will be, I just feel like Adult Swim just really didn't give these creators a lot of time to work here. And I feel like it's not going to be as satisfying and like interesting as it could be because of that. But yeah, the point is that I was wrong on how long this was going to be. When I announced it as Fiona and Cake's replacement, I thought it was going to be those 3 episodes, and knowing now that it's not, can't really replace Fiona and Cake with it. So I made a post on Patreon. By the time I'm recording this, I'll probably also make a post on YouTube, basically saying that I didn't know that this was how it's going to be, and that I'm going to find something else to replace Fiona and Cake for the Monday slot. I don't know what it's going to be right now, but I'm going to keep it a surprise. I'm not going to announce it beforehand. When it comes out, it comes out. And you'll know at that point. But that means I need to change my mid card, because I made a mid card and everything with the elephant being shown. So now I've got to change that. The mid card here on YouTube, because that's not shown on the Patreon stuff. But yeah, I have to remake that with something else. It'll probably be left as the elephant until the next thing comes up, though. Just for sake of ease. But yeah, so I guess we'll just do this now. We'll just do this as like a specialty reaction for the channel. Because at this point, what else is it going to be? Now, this is a very fascinating concept. Because like I said, you have 4 different creators who have all created their own shows and worked on various others. And they're coming together to create this 3-act special. Except one of the big things about it is that none of them knew what the others created. Which basically just means that it's going to be like 3 little shorts. Because unless they were told like some kind of theme to keep on, it's not going to really connect in any way. Because, like, I don't know, like, how this is going to be divided up. But let's say Rebecca and Ian, because they're partners anyway, like, IRL. Let's say they're teamed up. And then Pendleton and the other creator have their own. They create, like, let's say part 1. I don't know if that's how it's going to go, but... And then they write it a certain way. They leave it off at a certain point. But then... Let's say Pendleton takes over, and it's just something completely different. There's going to be nothing to connect it, no structure to connect it to. It's not going to make a lot of sense unless, again, there's like some kind of core theme or idea that they are connecting with. And even then, it's still more of an anthology. So, I don't know. It just feels like even then... it would be better as, like, different episodes. It just feels like doing it this way, especially with the fact that none of them knew what the other was working on, is just gonna lead it to being a kind of a confusing mess. Even if each part is, like, on its own very good. It's like, generally speaking, there's gonna be no cohesion, right? I don't know. I guess we'll just have to see. Like I said, I don't know anything about the actual context of this series. I don't know anything about the story or characters or any voice actors that might be in it. I've seen like some of the visuals because of the trailer, but it was one of those kinds of trailers where you have no idea what's going on because there's not really a lot of cohesion to the trailer either. So... I don't know what to expect at all, in any way, shape, or form. But I do enjoy the works from all of these creators to some degree. Not really a fan of how Steven Universe ended, but that's not what we're here to talk about today, so. That being said, I think we should get into this and find out what we have in store. But before we do, I do want to remind you all that we do have, as I've been talking about, a Patreon now. Started at the beginning of the year. It's new to the channel, still figuring some things out, so just keep that in mind. It is linked in the description below, though, and you can check out all of our different tiers that have different rewards. The most notable being early access to all reactions. Now, the type of reactions you get early access to does depend on your tier. The $5 tier, for example, gives you early access to movie reactions. The $10 tier keeps those movie reactions but adds in series reactions as well, and so on and so forth. Each tier up adds in a new type of reaction that you can get with the early access. There's also other rewards such as voting on exclusive polls in the future and getting to decide things for me to check out in the future, getting to choose reactions for me to check out at some point. The full descriptiveness of it all can be found on the actual Patreon page, which again, linked down to below. You can find all the information there, but if you have any other questions, any other ideas or suggestions, please feel free to say something in the comments, because I do read all comments. I will be able to see what you're saying. And on top of that, this is optional. You don't have to do this, obviously. It is just a way to help support the channel, because this is like my full-time thing. I don't do anything else. This is just everything I do between this and the gaming channel, mind you. YouTube is pretty much my life. Take that for whatever you want that to mean. But yeah, it does help any donation. We even have a $1 tier for those who just want to help out but can't really pledge themselves to anything more. That's a support tier mainly. But yeah, like any tier that you're able or willing to do very much helps me out. So thank you so much. And for now, let's get into today's reaction. Hold up just a sec. Before you click that link down in the description below to get to today's video, I want to remind you of all the awesome content we have both on this channel and the Princess of Gaming channel. Let's check it out. Welcome to the Afterthoughts. We will begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. Yeah, this pretty much confirmed my fears on this. This needed to be longer. It could have worked being like a 45-minute special, like double length of what it was here. But it went by way too fast and didn't really have enough time for everything to truly, connect in a way. And you could say oh, that's the point, because life goes by faster than we would like, and it's all about slowing down and learning to appreciate your life and learning to live and all, and find a sense of self and all these other messages that are very clearly at the forefront of this special. But it feels incomplete. And for me, at least, that's an issue. To some people, that may feel like, oh, that's the point, and that's intentional. That's part of the theming and messaging. And sure, I get that, but I'm saying it feels incomplete from a viewing experience. It doesn't feel like they were able to get out everything they needed to. And it just feels like each segment is just completely wasted potential, if I'm being honest. And the thing is, this isn't bad. The idea is there. But this absolutely should have been longer. I will acknowledge it. It doesn't need to have been like a 3-episode thing. Having a full episode for each of these would have been too much. Unless you had like half length, like 11-minute episodes. But like otherwise, a full length episode for each of them would have been too much. You don't need that much. But like a 45-minute special would have been enough. That would have been enough to allow each segment a lot more time to breathe and allow the viewers to, like, you know, grasp what's going on before the next segment hits. The first segment especially is the weakest one by far. Act 1 is, if I'm just being completely honest, in my opinion, not good. It's not like terrible, but it's definitely not good. The problem with Act 1 is it's just chaos. It's just unbridled, unrestrained, random-ass chaos with nothing that even begins to make sense by the end. Even the messages and themes don't even come in until Act 2. The messages and themes don't really like start to actually be anything and don't start to actually mean anything until Act 2. Act 1 just feels like it was just thrown together. And I understand that, you know, this was Pendleton Ward's act. And I understand that, you know, Pendleton with, like, Adventure Time and whatnot can be, you know, pretty crazy. But both Adventure Time and Fiona and Cake have had notable, like, understanding to them. Even when they tend to get, like, super wacky, when there's episodes, like, of Adventure Time where it's just, like, really crazy and random, even then there's some reason it becomes crazy and random, for the most part. And it still feels like just one tiny little random insignificant speck out of the rest of everything. Here, it feels like you're kind of missing the point of an entire section of this special. Which you, at least I, basically am. I'm missing a significant portion of this. Because it just doesn't make any sense to me. It just doesn't, like, click as a cohesive anything. And I guess by this logic, it's not, like, bad in terms of, like, oh, it's offensive or, like, it just doesn't, it's poorly made. It's not that. It's just that it's so incomprehensible that it makes no sense to me. To a degree to where it doesn't, it's not cohesive in any way. There's no, like, there's nothing that makes it feel like an actual story. Or even a part of an actual story. And I didn't enjoy it. I was confused and just like, I had no idea what to say. And that kind of like stretched into the other acts too. As you notice, I was not very talkative during this reaction. I was fairly quiet because I didn't know what to say. Because that first part had like confused me so much that it's like I was trying to pay attention with acts 2 and 3 while also trying to, like, still grasp Act 1. And again, after watching all of it, it's like, I still don't grasp Act 1. It just was an illogical mess. And I know Pendleton Ward can do better, so it feels so disappointing. Then we have Act 2, which I guess we're following the same character through all of this. They, after sacrificing themselves to save their arm frog thing, I don't know, in Act 1, they're reborn as Music Button. Some being, we never get an explanation, who has a music button on their chest, on their abdomen. And the music is so intoxicatingly catchy that it like kind of leads people into partying. But it's also extremely addictive. And the people who have fallen in love with it can't get enough of it, to the point where they become almost feral to try and get it back once Music Button starts, trying to learn more about themselves. Um, Luckily, they do have two friends. The friends that they woke up with, the one that kind of looks like Lars with a mohawk, and the girl who's honestly kind of hot. These two friends, luckily, are able to ignore the call of the music, I guess, and actually help. When Music Button wants to learn more about themselves and wants to actually explore their identity and their existence, these two actually do lend a genuine hand and are absolutely real ones for it. Um, they end up being led through this kind of goose chase around town, and it eventually leads them to this underground temple thing that just doesn't really reveal much of anything, but just ends out with Music Button dying. But there is a kind of a more deeper reason for it this time, because unlike in the first one they sacrifice themselves, but here they take off the music button. They remove the part of themselves that is basically what just everyone else wants them to be, and instead choose to embrace kind of the beautiful chaos of life. The message here is you can be anything, not just what people expect of you. And so that's why we see them, kind of changing form at the end. But it's also expressed that while you can be everything, your life is not long enough to be everything. And so it expresses that with Music Button dying rather quickly, I don't know, housefly lifespan or something. And it's the instant they choose to embrace who they are, and embrace the idea that they can be anything, is the moment that they die, the moment that they are too late. And the message here is very, very deep, and very, very Rebecca Sugar, and to a lesser degree Ian James Cordy as well. But very Rebecca Sugar. It's this message very much is the same kind of messaging you would see in Steven Universe. Not as much with OKKO. OKKO was a little more lighthearted, but you would definitely see this message with their work either way, because Ian worked on Steven Universe too. But yeah, this one definitely had a much deeper message, and was not only much easier to follow along with, but could actually be followed along with at all. And I liked just a lot of the themes of it, especially with, trying to find and be your true self. I mean, as a trans and non-binary person, that speaks to me. And I feel like this is not specifically targeted towards any specific type of person necessarily. It's targeted towards anyone and everyone. But it's vague enough in a way to where if you see you're the specific kind of person you are, such as a trans person or whatnot, in this, it's entirely valid. And that's kind of the point. You're supposed to see yourself in that kind of idea. No matter what yourself might be. That was probably terrible grammar, but I don't care. And so, yeah, I liked Act 2, but the fact that it felt so far removed from Act 1, and not in a good way, it still threw me off. And then we go into Act 3. So we have this inventor. Can't remember his name. It's a very ordinary name, too. But we have this inventor who is lonely. He's always been lonely, so he tried to invent a robotic friend that he could, just hang out with, watch movies and stuff. Though he's both a really good and really bad inventor. He's a really good inventor because he was able to create a living being to some degree. But he's also really bad because he doesn't think a lot of design choices through, like, oh, we're going to watch movies on the monitor on your chest. How am I going to watch movies if the monitor is on my chest? Mirror? It's like, it's dumb, and it's purposefully dumb, for a little bit of levity and comedy, but also humanity. Our well, I was going to say unnamed protagonist, but they've got multiple names, technically. Our protagonist returns, this time being reborn in the body of this guy's robot invention. And they actually get to talking. Despite them having a kill switch now, they decide to hear this guy out and talk to him a bit, and even hang out with him a bit. And a bond starts to form between them. They genuinely do, by the end, become friends. To the point where even when he's hit by a car and everything while trying to get them nuts and everything, our main character is distraught, waiting in the hospital and just so scared that he died. And that already shows growth from just them having talked for a bit. It shows that they're understanding the fragility and just, how do I put it? The fragility and importance, we'll just say. That's not what I was thinking, but the importance of life. And yet, in the end, the switch is flipped. The kill switch that for some reason was put onto the robot in the first place is flipped. And at first it looks like it's going to go to another universe, but no, we actually come back and find out it didn't work. Because the dude is, again, in some ways a really bad inventor. So it doesn't work, and they realize that they want to stay. They want to choose life instead of just flopping between all these different lives while embracing death every time. They actually want to stay here with the friend that they've made and embrace a life that they can make for themselves, that they can truly live. And that's obviously one of the main themes of this special as a whole. Embracing life. Embracing yourself. And just finding a way to keep going. Finding something to motivate you to keep going. The messages in Acts 2 and 3 are very good and are told very well. Act 1 is an absolute clusterfuck that does not work. And it does not work with the rest of this. So, with this being said, though, to be each creator created their segment, their act, separately without knowing what the other one was working on, I'm assuming it's one of those things, one of those games where it's they're the first person works on their first act, and then they tell only the ending, the last minute or so, not even maybe last 30 seconds or so of what happened to the next person, and that person continues off of that, but only continuing the story from those 30 seconds, so they don't have the full context and picture. And so that it might be a case of one of those. I think there's a Jackbox game like that. Either that or it's something else that Steven and friends have played on the Steven Plays channel. It's either a Jackbox game or something that they've just made up and done. But yeah, it's like they had like only the bare basics of which to go on, because obviously there was some level of cohesion with the entire same character going through all these lives and having to embrace a single life instead of just like flittering through to try and find something that just instantly felt right, instead of trying to find a way to make what you are given feel right, which there's a lot to talk about there that I'm not mentally prepared to handle right now. um but yeah, there's a lot of theming, a lot of like confusing aspects to this that I really think would have benefited from this being twice as long. I think that I think that this should have been about 45 minutes. Doesn't need to be longer than that, but it should have been about 45 instead of about 22. I think that would have greatly helped it. Because as it is, it feels like Act 1 is completely separate from Acts 2 and 3. And is like, if I were to give Act 1 like a 4 out of 10, which is about what I would probably give it at best, then Acts 2 and 3 would equivalently be a 10 out of 10. Just that's how far apart they are in quality. But like, realistically, I wouldn't call Acts 2 and 3 a 10 out of 10. I would say the best of the 3 acts for me is Act 2. Because Act 2 spoke to me the most. And I would still only give that like maybe an 8 out of 10. Just based on this initial watch. Act 3, I would probably give a 7. And again, Act 1, I mean 3 or 4 at absolute best. It's just like, I don't think it was I don't think it was good. And it's not that it wasn't well animated or like anything like that. It just, I can't say it was well conceptualized because it didn't have a concept. It was void of concept. And again, probably the point, but still, it didn't work for me. And even if something is like good for other people, and even if there is a point to it that, you know, is intended to be seen that way, like the chaos is intentional, doesn't mean I have to like it either. Doesn't mean I have to understand, or doesn't mean I have to be able to understand what's actually being said. Because it's like sometimes it just feels like pure chaos for the sake of pure chaos. And that's what Act 1 here felt like. It felt like they just wanted to put as much chaos together as possible without ever actually like making it feel natural or making it feel like it was an actual story to some degree. Maybe that's just me, but it was the weakest part of this by very far, and I didn't enjoy it. I did enjoy the character designs from all 3 parts though. Like, our protagonist design in part 1 was pretty good. I liked that design right from the trailer when I saw it. The kind of feminine design with like the wacky like proportions and strange aspects. Though again, it got weird like once the arms were chopped off and everything, and like an arm became a frog or whatever. Like, I don't know. Act 2 probably had the best designs. Though I think generally out of the creators here, I would say Rebecca and Ian have the best character designs of anyone here. Like I like Pendleton Ward's character designs like a lot, but they're not quite on the level of Rebecca and Ian for me. And the I can't remember the name. I had it up too. Let me mute this. I saw it during the credits and I just couldn't for the life of me remember it. Cause it's not a I guess it's not a name I like think about often. Patrick McHale. Patrick McHale's designs for Over the Garden Wall and everything, it's like they're fine. Like, hold on. Thought I heard something come out of my headphones. They're fine. They're nothing special. They're nothing like amazing. They're very like generally good. But like Rebecca and Ian always like absolutely excelled at that. Like no matter what you say about their shows otherwise, no matter what you think about like any parts of their shows, the character designs were never a problem. They always had phenomenal character designs. So I think those were my favorite in terms of that. And probably Act 2 was my favorite in terms of just general world design too. Um but overall, I think I think that this was just an interesting um an interesting experiment, I guess is a way to put it. But it's something that on its own like doesn't really fully work. Because it's just it needed to be longer. The first act needed to have some semblance of sanity to it. And it needed more time to breathe. It was way too quick. Even the better parts, like I said, I can only Act 2, which was my favorite, I could only give like an 8 out of 10 at best, because the biggest reason is because it just didn't have enough time to really like stick with everything. I feel like the message could have gotten through just so much better if it had more time to actually dwell on it. So that's my biggest gripe. It just feels rushed as hell. It feels like they just weren't given a budget for anything more. And because of that, it feels incomplete to me, like I was saying. I just don't feel like it comes across as a completed special. It feels like there's so many other things that were set up for, and so many other things that should have been done and could have been done that just weren't explored because there wasn't the time to do so. So yeah. It's it's unfortunately something I would refer to as wasted potential. It's a B grade total at best. Because while two of the acts were pretty good, the first act drags them down so much. And overall, even acts 2 and 3 still have their issues that still pull it down for me. It's just it's not as great as I was hoping for. And I understand that that's my problem. I understand that my hype for this, based on the trailer, based on the fact that this is by so many great creators, my hype just kind of led me to be disappointed. I honestly, I wonder what it would have been like if I watched this without having any context for it beforehand. I wonder if that would have maybe given me a better take on it. I don't know. But overall, I feel like this just could have and should have been better. That being said, tell me your thoughts down in the comments below. And for now, I'm Connie and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.